Biden admitted Friday that the border isn't secure. Does he have any plans to visit the southern border before the election?
The president visited the border recently.
In January.
Well, yeah, that was a year ago. He's been there.
Yeah, that was White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday claiming that President Biden recently visited the border. No, he didn't. If you recall, his last trip was more than a year ago, and at that time, he spent 3 hours around El Paso, not really at the areas that are the most wide open. Senate negotiators, meanwhile, are racing to win support for their bipartisan border deal. That would unlock aid for Ukraine as well as new security measures at the border. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the deal's not finished, and he's calling out any lawmaker who is already in opposition of it. Watch.
All of us on the Democratic side are serious about getting something done. Sadly, it's clear there are some in this Congress and beyond who wish to prevent bipartisan action on the border and on our national security challenges. Whether they're blinded by naked partisanship or cowed by political pressure, these minority voices are cynically working to stymie bipartisan cooperation.
Joining me right now is Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. And, Senator, I have a problem with what you just heard because I don't think you all are serious about the border at all. Because if you were serious about the border, we would have seen change at the border. If Joe Biden really thought the border was unsafe, he would not have walked into the Oval Office when he started his term in 2021 and started overturning all of Donald Trump's border security. So what's he talking about there, that you guys are serious about the border? You're not.
Marie, you're absolutely correct. If the Democrats were serious about the border, they could have done something when Joe Biden was in his first 2 years of office. Chuck Schumer ran the Senate and Pelosi ran the House. They did nothing, not one single immigration bill. What they're doing right now is they're playing politics. They're baiting the Republicans. They're trying to make this deal as partisan as they can possibly make it. So it may squeak by the Senate, but then they know that it probably will fail in the House, and so they can blame it on, quote, MAGA Republicans or extremists. They are not serious at all, Maria, about securing the border. They don't want to secure the border. They want an open border. They want as many illegals that flood their sanctuary cities that they can give IDs, that they can start letting them vote in local elections, but eventually start voting in federal elections. We know where they're headed, and this is a disaster and a train wreck. Now, on the other hand, we as Republicans know we have to do something. We know we have to do something. James Lankford is trying to negotiate in good faith, trying to move the best bill forward, because doing nothing is honestly not an option. I mean, we're hitting record highs. You talked about in the previous hour about 800,000 known gotaways. Remember, known gotaways mean that they had to see them with their eyes. They can't just simply count foot tracks. They have to physically see them with their eyes. So 800,000 is a small drop in the bucket of the ones that actually got away, plus the 8.8 million individuals, which is double the size of Oklahoma's population, that are in the country right now illegally.
Well, I mean, look, let's talk about James Lankford's bill, because on the one hand, you know, he's trying to come up with something that everybody agrees on, but it includes issuing more green cards. It includes the only way that you send anybody back is after 5,000 illegals have already come, 5,000 a day. Are you all in on that?
That's not totally accurate. Remember, Maria, the bill hasn't been released yet, but the $5,000 people a day is a trigger where the border automatically shuts down. What we're looking at is the process of how right now 85% of the individuals that come across the border, Maria, are automatically paroled. And so what we're trying to do is say that 85%, 100% need to be checked. So before they're allowed to come in the country, that they got to prove that they need asylum, meaning that they have to prove credible threat from the country, not automatically assume that they have it. So 5,000 a day is where the number stops, where they cannot enter anymore, they cannot process anymore into the country. That doesn't mean 5,000 are going to come into the country. But once again, the final text hasn't been released. This is a lot of speculation about what people believe that might be in the bill. None of us know until we actually read it.
Okay, but why agree to 5,000? We've already had 8 million people come illegally. You're allowing another 5,000? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I don't think we allow 5,000 a day. But remember, right now we're hitting over 10,000 a day.
I know.
So But so our point is let's start somewhere, but 5,000 is the trigger to shut down, meaning that they have to shut down the border if more than 5,000 try to enter the country illegally. Right now, when they get to 5,000, they get to 10,000, they get to 12,000, they just keep them bringing in. They just keep bringing them in. We have to have a trigger point at some point. Obviously, what we would like to do as Republicans, secure the border completely, shut it down until we get control of it. But the Democrats aren't going to do that. That's not what we get to work with Biden in the White House.
Why can't you dig in? Why must you say 5,000 after allowing 10 million people on Joe Biden's watch in the last 2.5 years?
I agree, but we got to have something. And Marie, I'm just saying that we have to have something reasonable that we can start with this White House to get them even looking at the border. If President Trump was in office, we wouldn't even be negotiating this bill. This wouldn't be where we're at. This isn't anything. But I know, and you know, that the border is a national security risk. So we have to start someplace. I'm not saying this is a great bill by any means, but I haven't seen the final text. I'm saying that we need to see what's in it before we start making decisions if we're going to vote for it, if we're going to support it, or if we're not going to support it.
Okay, so we'll keep that aside until we see the text. I want to also get your take on the national security issues around Iran. The U.S. and the U.K. launching strikes against 8 Houthi targets in Yemen yesterday after the U.S. Navy's top Mideast commander told the Associated Press this: Iran is directly involved in Yemen Houthi rebel ship attacks. There have now been at least 151 attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria since October 17th. Senator, you are an elected official. What are you doing about it?
In fact, when I leave here, I'm going to be going right into the Senate Armed Services Committee again, talking about the same issue. We've been in obviously briefings about this. Mind you, this number's actually increased. Even you got that report. Iran is a lone supporter of terrorists in the Middle East. Hands down, Hamas doesn't exist. Hezbollah doesn't exist. Houthis don't exist without the blessings of Iran. You can't just simply strike Hamas or Hezbollah or the Houthis and think that Iran's going to go away. If you're going to go after the terrorist organizations that's causing the destruction inside the Middle East, you've got to go straight at Iran. Iran doesn't want a war with us. They know it'll be very costly and they will lose. But they're going to continue to show the weakness of the American people underneath the Biden administration until we stand up and go what Reagan says, peace through strength. And this administration won't do that. If Trump was in office, this would not be happening.
So a lot of variables. If Trump is in office, how do you think New Hampshire plays out, Senator?
I think Trump walks away with it. I think Nikki Haley, I know she's talking strong that she's not going to get out of the race, but eventually her money is going to dry up. Trump's going to win by double digits. It speaks volume when the only person that has endorsed her that was in the race is the former, or I guess the current governor, or maybe the former governor of Arkansas, and everybody else has come out in great support of President Trump. That speaks volume to who Nikki Haley is.
All right, Senator, we will leave it there. Good to have this conversation with you, and we so appreciate your time, sir. Markwayne Mullin joining us, and to you.